Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to VTM Shadows of New York. And we are in the middle of Night 2, guys. In the last episode, Julia got into her very first combat situation as a member of the Kindred, taking on a wannabe MMA fighter who was trying to steal an old guy's wallet in an alley. And despite being freshly embraced, Julia was able to handle her own pretty well, which was cool to see. And now we can finish off the night by choosing one of two activities. The first is feeding from a Tinder addict and going to the club. And due to the fact that we haven't used any of our vampiric powers, one of the biggest differences between 5th edition and previous editions of VTM is your blood pool isn't like a fuel tank that you have to keep track of how much you have left. It can be completely random when you use a power, whether you become hungry afterward, which adds a little bit of danger to using your abilities, which I think is very cool. But I think due to the fact that we haven't used any abilities, going to the club is the better of the two options. So let's time to swing a little more on the devil's dance floor. The club beckons. This club reeks of death, and I love it. I've been here quite a few times, but I've never seen anything this breathtaking. Everyone around me is whacked out of their minds, and as they keep dancing madly, the spirits dance beside them. Spectral silhouettes phase in and out of existence, becoming more visual the more intense the music grows. It's like a bizarre ritual, a profane mass. I notice as the voice samples the ghosts react to the strongest. The most suggestive ones cause them to appear distorted, even tormented. Ooh. Now remember, Oblivion, which is the Lasombra's replacement for Obtenebration, is a combination of Obtenebration's shadow abilities as well as necromancy. So the necromancy allowed like Giovanni and Samedi and all of these other clans to see ghosts and manipulate ghosts and all kinds of cool stuff. The fact that they're combined just makes it so disgusting. So this, I guess, may be Julia's very first experience with this. It's as if something was struggling to be born out of the harsh sounds, and the dead were hoping to be reborn alongside it. They're all uneasy, quivering with desire for something far beyond their reach, probably the same as when they were alive. Sometimes, the living dancers spot their dead counterparts. It's usually the most manic ones who notice something out of the corner of their eye for only a split second, but never realize what they've glimpsed. Some apparitions dance to a completely different tune than the rest of us, one only they can hear. Those seem the saddest. The spectacle is eerie. At times, it's unbearably melancholic. Above all, though, it's beautiful. I keep on moving to the rhythm until I reach a trance-like state, and then something even stranger happens. Every now and then, when I brush against someone, a fragmentary vision appears before my eyes. A car burning on a freeway, an outstretched hand in the depths of the sea, a man jumping out of a skyscraper window. Memories of the past? Preventable visions of the future? I have no idea what it means, but I'm strangely eager to find out. And then there are dancers like her, ones that aren't ghosts, humans, or even vampires, but something else altogether. This new world is full of mysteries, and I plan to get to the bottom of them all. But for now, I just want to dance. Wow. What a night. I watch Times Square from above. It's beautiful. That's a cool shot right there. I never thought this place could make me emotional, to be honest, but here I am, feeling deeply moved. Who would have thought? That one guy I saved from a beatdown will probably get bored of this place 5 minutes after an obligatory selfie. Although I guess one's enjoyment of these sights depends a great deal on perspective. In any case, I'm glad he gave me the idea. Getting up here was surprisingly easy, all things considered. It took more thought than physical effort. Earlier tonight, I started experimenting with this body's limits. I realized I can jump over small buildings and climb steep walls with ease now, and my whole perception of space has shifted. I planned a scenic route across the rooftops. I did my best to avoid attracting attention, just as I was told. Stayed in the shadows as much as humanly possible. Humanly possible. I spot a drone from afar. For a second I feel uneasy, but I remember what she told me. Machines won't get a clear view of me anymore. Camera footage, photos, it's all glitched out or blurry. And that was actually something I looked up about the Lasombra's new weakness. They don't really they don't have the cast no reflection flaw anymore, because they are in tuned with the abyss so much because of Oblivion. They kind of are working part of two different realities, for lack of a better term. So when video cameras and stuff get them, they see both of those interacting at the same time, so it causes the footage and everything to kind of skits out, which I thought was kind of cool. It's a nice take on that. Wouldn't take it for granted if I didn't try to catch my reflection earlier on. I couldn't see my face clearly. Not in the mirror. Not even in a puddle. My face was like one of Dali's clocks. She told me to keep a low profile regardless. Someone might take note and track you down. She didn't care to elaborate, but it didn't sound encouraging. Suddenly, it hits me that I might never be able to see my own face again. I won't be able to take care of my looks by myself. And what about the long-term psychological effects? A knot of anxiety tightens in my stomach. Oh, Jesus, this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. What else is going to change? Wait, calm down. Wait a second. These past few nights have been the best of my life. For years I was in a downward spiral, failing health, no future, a feeling of overwhelming powerlessness. Now everything has been flipped upside down. A total paradigm shift. A bad ending is no longer the only option. I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow. I forgot how that feels. Where it used to stand at mere seconds to midnight, the doomsday clock has been effectively turned off. A cold breeze brushes my cheek. As stupid as it sounds, I choose to read it as the whole world telling me to chin up. I can bend anyone to my will. I'm capable of superhuman strength. I'm a master of shadows. I can do anything. Tomorrow night, I'll be introduced to my duties. If everything goes according to plan, I'll become a New York City representative of Clan Lasombra. Whoever they are, whatever that means, I have no idea what to expect. But tonight is tonight. I'm free. All my worries from a month ago feel like they belong to someone else. Finally, things are looking up. March 2020. Oh God. Back at it again at Big Beat Burger. Why is she back here? Familiar sounds, familiar smells, familiar faces. Yet again, I'm recalling that night when everything finally seemed to change for the better. I mean, it's not like I wasn't expecting everything to go back to the old depressing normal. Even in the thick of it, the rational part of me recognized my state as temporary. But with these highs, there's always a hope it won't end. Or maybe that an ego death will finally occur. Be satisfied, you stupid fucking bitch. I command you. Here's all the logical evidence for why you should be satisfied. Here's the obvious direction for your life. And here's a detailed explanation of how you should treat the people that care for you. No dice. I always fall back into the same old habits. It's like they were encoded deep in my DNA. The aimlessness, the powerlessness, the spiritual exhaustion. These goddamn fast food trips. The stupid fucking self-loathing, now amplified whenever I drink somebody's blood. Maybe I should just blame it all on the misfortune of my birth. You do this social climbing until you disassociate, and then you're just this untethered, constantly frustrated ball of dumb desires. Except I'm sort of immortal right now, and I need to figure out what to do next. I watched this obscure Asian movie once. Eli Lema Sabachthani. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Starring Tadanobu Asano, one of the coolest guys in the world. He plays this Merzbow-like figure, a legendary noise musician. There's this mysterious virus spreading around the world, causing despair and mass suicides. A rich CEO's granddaughter gets sick and longs to die, so he spends a fortune searching for the cure. Turns out Asano and his friend, played by this violent onsen geisha guy, are traveling through Japan, searching the corpse-strewn towns and fields for any unique item that can produce beautiful sounds. As it turns out, the avant-garde walls of noise they create are able to heal the infected. The CEO begs the band to help, offering them all the money they want, but for some reason, they refuse. Through a series of flashbacks, concerts, and vignettes, a mystery unfolds. Eventually, we realize that Asano's music is not just a remedy, it's also a cause of the virus. Whenever it connects with people, they get this hunger for more extreme, more novel experiences. And eventually, they hit a wall. Nothing can satisfy them anymore. They lose their will to live. Not even the musicians are spared from this curse. They know the end will come, sooner or later. The girl is saved by a mind-blowing concert, but the tragedy is merely postponed. It's not averted. The last shot of Jesus-like Asano silently considering his role as savior and destroyer stayed with me. The form of the film is abrasive. Little to no narrative coherence, some weird, cartoonish creative choices, the Japanese noise soundtrack, the very free-form and hard-to-understand weave of themes. But at this point, movies like this are all that truly connect with me. I'm the New York representative of the Lasombra clan now, also known as the Night Clan. They're masters of shadows, who cast distorted reflections and make modern tech go haywire in their presence. Last year, a few months before I was embraced, the Lasombra had joined with the Camarilla, the biggest and most traditional sect in the vampire world. The two groups actually used to fight each other, but our leaders found some intel that made them reconsider their strategy. So they sent a diplomatic mission to parley with their historical enemies. The deal they got in Chicago was simple: an unlife for an unlife. For every Lasombra vampire allowed in the Ivory Tower, one Lasombra vampire has to meet their ultimate end. Holy crap. Now, the Lasombra were introduced in 5th edition in the Chicago by Night supplement. I haven't had a chance to read that, but I heard it was pretty good. One Lasombra for one Lasombra, huh? I still remember the name of the woman who met her final death so I could begin my unlife. Her name was Hester Reed, a sworn enemy of the Camarilla, a guerrilla fighter who spent decades opposing them. She was someone with far better principles than mine, from what I've gathered. Well, whoever she was, her execution by my sire served to convince the NYC elites to give us Lasombra a chance. Then they set out to look for a mutually agreed upon candidate who'd become the clan's rep in the city. My sire searched for someone who gave the impression she was more than she appeared. The local court was looking for someone they could walk all over. After long negotiations, they decided I was a good compromise. He's proceeded to systematically destroy my entire life, just to make me show I was psychologically strong enough to join their ranks. The turncoat special, they called it. Somehow, I succeeded. And it eventually led me right back to where I started. I stopped writing and put my pen down. The interesting thing about that sigh is that's a very human thing since they don't breathe anymore. Oh! I remember you, I think. I remember that hairstyle. I don't remember if I had a certain voice for her. Oh well, we'll give it a shot. Will that be all? Yes, Miss Duval. I hope you enjoy your stay in London. Oh, I very much doubt I will. But just like every cultured person, I think the only good Englishman is a dead Englishman. Ugh. Okay. Privileged scum. I think we're probably going to say the same thing regardless, but seems like privileged scum to me. Must be nice, traveling the world and all that. Caracas, Mogadishu, Shanghai, the blood tastes the same anywhere you go. The biggest difference is that your duties become more of a hassle. Miss Duval, every word you uttered tonight just made you more punchable. That'll be all. Tell Kadir I said hello, and farewell. Safe travels. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, psycho. Ah well. I'm the lone Lasombra in this town, and my representational role means jack shit. No title, no perks, no whatever. Right now I'm the court's gopher, doing all sorts of work nobody else will touch. That actually reminds me of Victorian Age vampire. In London, there was actually one Lasombra anti-tribute. Lasombra who actually left the Sabbat and came over and joined the Camarilla, and one of his primary jobs was welcoming new Kindred into the city. He was like the representative, the public face, you know. But due to the fact that there's no other Lasombra in this town, she wouldn't be like a primogen or primogen, so she couldn't represent anyone else. My main duties? Being a sort of immigration officer. See, New York City is probably the biggest vampire travel hub in the USA, and definitely the biggest one in the East Coast. Almost every kindred arriving from Africa and Europe comes through here. The local Camarilla is nuts about bureaucracy and population control, so every vampire leaving or arriving in this town is supposed to check with me to inform me about their travels. Well, in theory at least. The VIPs play by the different rules. They take care of this stuff through connections and servants. But for the smaller fish, I'm like a vampire Statue of Liberty. The first bloodsucker every kindred coming to NYC should see. On paper, anyway. The first after the Prince, or Kadir, the Primogen Council, or the first after the Prince, or Kadir, the Primogen Council, these things vary. Yeah, I'm a naturally traitorous Lasombra, so they still prefer being traditional and hands-on about these things. As I said, at the end of the day, I'm just a gopher. And this work only serves to remind me I'm not quite in, just standing at the gate. They haven't even given me an office. I just meet everyone in public places, such as coffee shops or this fast food restaurant. Some consider this an insult and lash out at me, but luckily most of them understand we're in the same boat. Only here because we're curs who need to be reminded of our place from time to time. Speaking of, my last client is 15 minutes late. I still have more errands to run tonight. This is getting irritating. To be honest, I should just find some self-respect and leave. But I won't. My sorry upbringing left me with this stupid sense of responsibility. 10 more minutes pass. Eventually, an unfamiliar woman appears by the door. She tells someone to stand by the door and walks in. Ooh. I like the green eyes. Long chestnut hair. Body stuck in her late teens by the look of it. A fashionable scarf covering most of her face. Elegant clothes. Dignified walk. I signal her to sit in front of me, trying my best not to let my impatience show. She obliges. Well, despite the fact that she's late, let's just get on with it. No time for pleasantries. Name's Julia Sawinski. I hope you won't mind if I make it quick. I'm needed in Elysium. Name? Katherine Weiss. Huh. I swear I've heard that name before. Someone else's description of her crosses my mind. That weird lady who owns the art hole but's never there? Weird. So it is her. Katherine Weiss, the owner of the art hole, de facto headquarters of the New York City Camarilla. For fuck's sake, Julia, what are you doing calling her weird right off the bat? God knows you've already made a fool of yourself in front of enough VIPs in this city. Recover. I'm sorry, it's just that I still don't know many people there, so I have to go by the descriptions I'm given by members of the Primogen. Well, the description is mostly correct. Outside of that one word that slightly perplexes me. Pot calling the kettle black sounds like. From what I've gathered, it's just that your interests are rumored to be, not fully aligned with the Camarillas, and it irks some folks up there. Being a keeper of the Elysium is not enough for some, I see. I suspected as much, but what can you do? She seems chill. Good. Anyway, Katherine Weiss. Wow. Yes. Want me to spell it? People often have trouble getting it right. Forgive my indiscretion, it's just that people of your stature usually don't bother checking in with me. They usually report their arrival to one of the Primogen and they make all the arrangements. I heard Prince Panhard is busy with the preparations for her big party. I assumed that if I spared her some paperwork, she'd appreciate it as a gesture of goodwill. Besides, I wanted to meet the infamous Lasombra representative out of sheer curiosity. My interest piqued once I heard about her. She looks around knowingly. Unique circumstances. Yes, Prince Helen Panhard had trouble justifying the exorbitant rent my property would need. That's literally pennies for her. And as far as I know, she's been sitting on empty property since late last year. Looks like they've got it out for you. Bad. That's what I assumed, but it's nice to get a confirmation. Well, it's not like my clan has ever been particularly popular in these parts. At least, that's what I've heard. sins of the fathers and so on.
Yes. Just to make sure, you've never met Hester, but you know of her?
I do know I wouldn't be here if not for her. Have you two met?
No, I only heard of her once or twice. We had similar outlooks on many issues, although we tended to come up with completely different solutions. In any case, I think it's meaningful that Hester died so that you could live. They feared her. Now they fear you, and that's why they're keeping you down.
If anyone who's not a VIP said this to me, I'd laugh in their face. Oh, I get what she's doing. She's trying to buy my favors. Best not to act like I'm easy to please. Stick to business. Time will tell. In the meantime, I'll need you to help me out with my documentation.
Of course.
So, where are you coming from?
Washington, D.C.
She says it in the way people in Hollywood movies say it. The way that suggests her Washington is wildly different from the Washington you and I would see. And what were you doing there?
Take a guess.
Government work?
Write that down. It ought to amuse Helen a little bit.
If you say so. Date and hour of arrival? She takes out a plane ticket and slides it toward me.
It's all here.
1 a.m. Got it. Method of transit, plane. Purpose of visit?
Meeting with Prince ought to work just fine.
I guess. Estimated duration of visit?
Undefined. Write in 6 months if you really need to.
Place of accommodation? Conditions of intended stay?
The art hole. Conditions should be adequate.
You tell me. I tend to be happy with Airbnb. Home sweet home?
I'm not certain that I ever felt particularly at home here.
That makes 2 of us.
Curious. Do you have nothing holding you here?
The face of a blonde-haired friend appears in my mind's eye, then vanishes. There's nothing holding me anywhere.
I see.
A prolonged silence. She stares into my eyes and I return the stare. She's studying me. It's unnerving, but I do my best not to turn away. Eventually, she smiles. I guess we can tell through the face mask.
Didn't you say you were short on time?
Oh God, yes. Kadir will kill me. I quickly begin to collect my stuff from underneath the table.
You can simply inform him I paid you a visit. He'll understand, and he'll pass it on to everyone who should be in the know.
Do you need anything else?
I'm fine. I was about to ask you that myself. You're the one asking questions here.
That's all from me.
Good. We'll see each other soon, I hope. The party tomorrow night?
I,
wasn't invited.
She gives me a pitying look.
I understand. Well, if not given the opportunity, we should make our own. I'll be in touch.
Good night, Miss Weiss. I wish you a pleasant stay.
Good night. And don't rush these things. You've got your whole life ahead of you, and you're in a position where you can take it easy. Take your time. Get a different perspective.
I nod and walk slowly out of the door. When I lose sight of the restaurant, I sprint toward the subway. So, of all the things that she would be, she's basically turned into a customs agent. So, we find out that I was kind of curious about how the Lasombra were able to get into the Camarilla, and it looks like, the clan's still looking out for its best interest, as Lasombra would do, but the Camarilla is trying to counteract that by basically creating a puppet in a puppet position, and Julia was the middle ground. So it's going to be very interesting to see which side she tips toward. So I guess we will find this out soon, guys. I assume we're going to be meeting Kadir, who we remember from the first game, and we will see what happens. Hope y'all have enjoyed it. If you liked the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.